70-30 now. Boy, you gonna make me do 80-20. I'm an 80-20.
Go ahead and hush up Terence Crawford.
Hey, they gotta pay like they wait, man.
I'm gonna show y'all.
Hey, one thing I'm gonna tell y'all, my kids do not eat off.
Smoke, Junior. They don't know what time it is.
T-Bug Crawford.
Yeah. Everybody know who the champ is at 147, who the king is. And he too small. He's too small. He little. He light in the ass.
Hey, look. Ain't nobody say Floyd was light in the ass.
He's light in the ass. He's not Floyd.
Hey, I told you I was gonna pull up on Spence.
Hey, you was really already know.
Hey, look.
I love it.
Hey, look.
I love it.
I told him about what that word. I told him about what that word. This ain't no Keith Thurman shit. That's why we be scared of shit.
Shocking news came out today by Boxing 424/7, which states Errol Spence tells Crawford it's 70-30 split or 80-20. Here is exactly what Errol Spence said, which I quote, "It's 70-30 now, okay? Boy, you're going to make me do 80-20. I'm an 80-20. Pay what you weigh." Errol Spence said on social media on the purse bid options he's offering Terence Crawford. With that being stated, that percentage that Errol Spence is offering Terence Crawford keeps going lower and lower. It went from 60-40 to 70-30 and now 80-20. Now, mind you, Terence Crawford is the one and only fighter that have been calling out Errol Spence to fight from the jump ever since Errol Spence was the boogeyman, not just now when he's the cash cow. As soon as Terence Crawford moved up to the welterweight division, he asked to fight Errol Spence. And shockingly, Bob Arum have been on board. Usually Bob Arum is the roadblock. However, because this time around, Terence Crawford is the ultimate exception because Bob has all the confidence in the world in Terence Crawford. And he's not on that Hope Protection program of his. So Bob have been willing to make the fight all along. Nevertheless, I do agree with Errol Spence on Bob Arum giving other fighters from other networks a very hard time. And also, there is no doubt about it. Errol Spence is the A side. There is no discussion there, which makes Terence Crawford the B side. However, the way Errol Spence been treating Terence Crawford as of late, he's making Terence Crawford seem like the Z side. At the end of the day, or at least the night, Terence Crawford plays a big role in the fight of the decade. But the way Errol Spence is treating Terence Crawford shows he has less interest in the fight because he's not treating Crawford like the B side, not even the C, D, or E side. He's treating Terence Crawford like the Z side. Let me emphasize, if we are going based upon Errol Spence's last fight against Danny Garcia, do you guys know Errol Spence gave Danny Garcia a 60-40 split all around the board, from the guarantee purse to the pay-per-view share? Now keep in mind that Danny Garcia did not have a belt to offer. Plus, he already had 2 losses at welterweight. But Errol Spence was still willing to give him a 60-40 split, but then turns around and offers pound for pound number 1 Terence Crawford, who has a belt, undefeated, and a 3-time world champion in 3 different divisions, in which he happens to be undisputed in one of them divisions. All of these credentials, Errol Spence chooses to offer the guy he's supposed to have the fight of the decade with not a 60-40 split, a 70-30 or 80-20. How is that fair? If Danny Garcia, who didn't have that much leverage on the negotiations table, received a 60-40 split, then anything less than 60-40 split toward Crawford is unfair, because Terence Crawford has momentum right now, and Crawford's name is attached to Errol Spence, just like Frazier was attached to Ali, Leonard to Hearn and Hagler, so on and so forth. After all, this is our fight of the decade. And to make matter worse, even with a fighter that doesn't have Crawford credentials yet. For example, Jaron Ennis. Let's say he becomes Errol Spence IBF mandatory this year. Even then, Errol Spence will be forced to give his mandatory a 35% split. That's what happened with Teofimo Lopez and Camposas, which is a better offer than a 70-30 split. That's why, regardless of the motive, if Errol Spence wants to aim high in order to land a better deal on the negotiations table, he still have to be mindful of these statistics. Nevertheless, to all the fans that's tuning in, what is a fair split between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford? Now, you don't have to be a business manager or an accounting to figure this out, because we going based upon what Errol Spence offered Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, who Errol said can't even sell his family dinner. Therefore, if that person that can't sell his family dinner and Danny gets a 60-40 split, shouldn't Terence Crawford at least get the same split, if not more? In my opinion, knowing this information at hand, a 55-45 split is fair, but anything more than 60-40 is unfair. So Errol Spence offering or demanding 70-30, 80-20 split, the only thing that shows is that Errol Spence has no intentions to fighting Terence Crawford anytime soon. Let me emphasize, at this level, when two fighters are in their prime, in the same division, and on the same level, in which they supposed to have the fight of the decade, you will never hear a split that far off. What's next? A 90-10 split? I mean, how low are we trying to get here? Do you guys know even Oscar De La Hoya, who's one of the biggest pay-per-view stars of all time? We're not talking about Canelo status. This man was on Mayweather status nearly when it came to popularity. Oscar De La Hoya fought the likes of Pernell Whitaker, Trinidad, Chavez Sr., Hopkins, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and the list goes on and on and on. Do you guys know, when Oscar De La Hoya fought Pretty Boy Mayweather, not Money Mayweather, Pretty Boy Floyd, Oscar De La Hoya was the biggest thing in boxing. And even then, Oscar lowballed Floyd, knowing that Floyd wanted the fight as bad as he wanted to breathe, and gave him a 70-30 split. Floyd Mayweather took the fight because he knew it was going to pay off, and that's how Floyd Mayweather turned himself from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather, by becoming even bigger than the Golden Boy himself. You can call Floyd Mayweather the Diamond Boy, as far as I know. That was the one time where the offer was such one-sided toward a particular fighter who was clearly the A side and had all the leverage on his side. However, when it comes to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, that's not the case, because they both around the same level. Errol Spence is definitely the A side in my books, but it's not an Oscar De La Hoya type of leverage. I mean, nowhere close, because Oscar De La Hoya pay-per-view numbers are up there with the best of the best, the likes of Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, so on and so forth. With all of the facts being laid out, I couldn't comprehend why Errol Spence is talking about purse splits when he's not fighting Terence Crawford next. So I checked his Twitter, and Errol Spence said, and I quote, responding to this article in particular, "Damn, find some more ish. I haven't been on live since January. The okay thumb button, ... cap." So Errol Spence is pretty much saying this is not breaking news. This is something that was said months ago. Why you guys are bringing it back up? Now, it's good to know that Errol Spence haven't said anything recent. Like I said before, it wouldn't make no sense to talk about purse splits when Errol Spence is not fighting Crawford next. Errol Spence didn't ask Danny Garcia hey, if you don't take no 80-20, 70-30 split, we not fighting, before they started negotiating. So why continue to talk about the purse splits? Like I said before, is a little premature. Therefore, it's a good thing that Errol Spence haven't said anything recent. This is pretty much recycled news. Nevertheless, I never heard Errol Spence offer 80-20. So that's breaking news to me. Because like I said before, I never thought I would see that number. Furthermore, it's one thing if Errol Spence responded to this article with, I never said no 70-30 or 80-20 split. Relax. Crawford, if you really want the fight, take this 60-40 split. Let's stop talking and make things happen. That would have meant more than, damn, find some more ish. I haven't been on live since January. Well, if Errol Spence said it 2 months ago or he said it now, that don't change the fact that he said it. Now, does it? Last but not least, Crawford have a dispute with Bob Arum at the moment in time. His contract will be up come October this year. And the way fighters are running away from Bob as fast as they can, from the likes of Teofimo Lopez, Pacquiao, Oscar, Floyd, Mikey Garcia, Ruiz, so on and so forth, it's hard to believe Crawford is going to maintain loyal to someone that's not being loyal to him. It's all business at the end of the day. When you see Devin Haney making as much money as Crawford, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a wake-up call for Crawford. I see Bud heading to PBC. Even Bob co-signed that, which means the fight is not realistic until then, on a business level. That's why it's pointless to talk about purse splits at this moment in time, when negotiations haven't even begun. So when Errol Spence is being asked about Crawford, he needs to talk about anything but the purse splits, because that's a bad look on his behalf. I told you guys I was highly impressed with how Terence Crawford completely washed a game Kell Brook, who said he was in the best condition of his life. Now, for the people that tried to discredit Crawford like they always do, they are discrediting Errol Spence in a way too, because that's his best win to this date. Because if Kell Brook was damaged good against Crawford, then he was also damaged good against Errol Spence after Triple G. But truth be told, Kell Brook looked like the undefeated version that fought Porter when he went up against Crawford. It's just that Crawford is simply that good. Crawford is pound for pound #1 for a reason. That's why you can't discredit one fighter and credit the other. You can't have it both ways. Now, it's one thing when it comes to the fans. There's always going to be the yin and the yang. However, they just not consistent. On the other hand, it's fair to say that Errol Spence was way more impressed than all of us combined when it came to how Crawford dismantled Kell Brook, because he knew how tough it was. And to see Terence Crawford beat Kell Brook in his own game, that's deadly, to say the least. With that being said, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, subscribe below, and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, TV. Peace, and we at you.